The Legend of Sunset Shimmer, Ocarina of Time. By Ganondorf 8. Prologue, the beginning of an old yet new legend.
The future depends upon thee, Link. Thou art courageous. Are you telling me that the fate of this world falls onto my shoulders, and that there is no one else who is much better qualified to handle it? I'm not sure if you have the right person for the job here, as I have done things in the past which I wouldn't call heroic, let alone good. Why dost thou speakest in such a manner? You have been chosen by destiny to prevent this world from plunging into darkness, and leading it to a path of peace. I get what you're saying, but you don't really know what I used to do. None of the Kokiri have committed any acts that would label them as being unjust. That's because I am not a Kokiri, nor am I even from this world. Where I am come from, I am a human, but I'm really a pony, who possesses magical powers, and was once the student of the ruler of the kingdom before I allowed my own ambitions to cloud my judgment, and lead me down a path filled with nothing but hatred. So you see, I'm not the kind of hero that you think I am, and I'm certainly not what you would call the one destined to save an entire world. Why is it that I have to keep on saying these same words over and over, which are the truth? These words you speakest of, Link's sound of dreams which have plagued you these past moons, dreams which have become nightmares, and have caused you to believe that you are from a different world than our own. That's because I am from another world. Erg. Do not allow these nightmares to confuse you, Link, for you must be brave if you are to prevent the desert man in black armor from achieving his goal of acquiring the sacred Triforce. And I really wish you wouldn't call me Link.
To think that only a few hours ago, I was at a slumber party having the time of my life, and now I was standing before a giant tree arguing over what I knew was right, and being told that I was wrong. If there was a time that I was having an off day, then this would be it without a doubt. My name is Sunset Shimmer, a unicorn from the land of Equestria who now resides in the human world of my own volition. Once, I had a promising future under the guidance of Princess Celestia, but my own lust for power caused me to go down a dark path where I became an intimidating presence at Canterlot High, a high school in the human world. All I ever did was drive people apart, and manipulated my way to the top without caring for anyone who happened to get in my way, but this all came to an end when Twilight Sparkle, another of Princess Celestia's students and a princess herself, showed me that I could change if I was willing to do so. In the months since then, I gained new friends through Rarity, Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, and Fluttershy, girls that I had once manipulated for my own personal benefit, but had become the only ones who were willing to give me a second chance. Twilight herself returned to the human world in order to stop a group of sirens known as the Dazzlings from turning the human world into their slaves, and it was through her and my other friends that I was able to achieve a magic which I had believed to have been lost from my heart, a magic that enabled us to defeat the Dazzlings. While this all sounds like it would lead to a happy ending, I was merely kidding myself, for something unexpected was going to happen. All of that equestrian magic had created a ripple which had reached the presence of a being from a world completely different from the human world and from Equestria, and this being was about to make himself known. It had been several days since the defeat of the Dazzlings, and Twilight with her companion Spike had gone back to Equestria. Pinkie Pie in the meantime had invited all of us to another slumber party where we were going to play video games, take photos, and generally talk about the future. Rainbow Dash had been the most excited about this sleepover because she was going to show off a game which she had recently downloaded, and was all psyched to play it. Who would have thought that someone other than Pinkie Pie would be excited about a party? Anyway, that night, we had finished eating supper, and had gotten into our jammies, which is when Rainbow Dash turned on the game console, a Wii U, in order to show us the new game that she had downloaded.
"Isn't it great?"
asked Rainbow Dash.
"I suppose so, given that it's just another video game y'all downloaded because you had enough money to do just that,"
replied Applejack.
"For your information, Applejack, this isn't just another video game, but rather one of the greatest video games to have ever been created. I'm talking about The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, a game so awesome that it has even me jealous of it, and we all know just how awesome I am, right? I don't know why it took me such a long time to finally get around to playing it, but I just know that the wait has been worth it,"
said Rainbow Dash as she selected the Ocarina of Time panel on the screen and pressed the button on her controller in order to start playing.
"Are you gonna stay up all night playing again?"
asked Applejack with a stern look on her face.
"Of course I am, as I want to get through this game as quickly as possible,"
replied Rainbow Dash.
"Do you remember what happened the last time you decided to play a game all night? You were so plumb tuckered out by the time you were done that you missed our band's morning practice sessions for an entire week, all because you gave up sleep just to play one game. Rainbow Dash, are you even listening to what I'm saying?"
asked Applejack. While it may seem that they were angry at each other, deep down their friendship was very strong, and I knew that this little spat would be over soon enough. Pinkie Pie in the meantime was using her laptop and looking up on her usual hangouts, which is pretty much what she does whenever she goes online. She was having way too much fun to pay attention to the antics of Rainbow Dash and Applejack, especially when she laughed every few minutes, leaving them miffed. Rarity had gone for some refreshments from the kitchen, but as soon as she came back, she found herself joining in the Rainbow Dash/Applejack argument. As for Fluttershy, she simply chose to remain quiet and watched all of the proceedings go, much like what I was doing. "Ha, my friends. My friends. Sometimes, I still felt as though I don't really belong here, even though my friends would say otherwise. I guess I still have insecurities due to my past actions. Maybe I'm just punishing myself too hard for the things that I did before, and not realizing that I should move beyond it and embrace the things that I have now. If only I had taken my own advice more seriously before things changed for the worse." About an hour had gone by, and Rainbow Dash was completely obsessed with playing The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, to the point where no one else was even allowed to play it. Applejack and Rarity accused her of hogging the game, which is understandable, but her response only made them even more irritable.
"Only one person can play this game at a time, and right now that someone is me. I have no intention of stopping until I have gotten as far as I can before I end up falling asleep." "That's so unfair, darling, and you know it,"
shouted Rarity.
"Why are you so concerned about this, Rarity? You're the kind of person who isn't known for playing video games,"
said Rainbow Dash.
"Maybe so, but at least I know that playing games should involve sharing with friends, and having fun playing with friends. I know that you have a strong desire to finish this game as fast as you can, but maybe you should cut back a little bit, and maybe let one of us play for a while,"
said Rarity.
"But I'm just too engrossed in this game to put it down for anybody. Maybe, if you let me play it for at least another 2 hours or so, then I can let one of you take a turn,"
suggested Rainbow Dash. Both Applejack and Rarity voiced their complaints and demanded that she hand the controller over to someone else, or at the very least switch games so that multiple people could play. She ignored their demands and continued to play, and then a few minutes later an idea popped into her head which now I wished she hadn't thought of.
"You know what would be really cool? That you'd let someone else have a turn?
Asked Applejack.
No. Wouldn't it be really cool if we were actually playing this for real, as in being in Hyrule itself and experiencing everything with our own eyes?
Asked Rainbow Dash.
Now why ever would you want to do that?
Asked Rarity.
Because I think it'd be cool if we could do just that. I mean, we already have the power to become half human, half pony beings due to the equestrian magic that is inside of us, but what if we could go even further and explore a whole new world? That would be beyond awesome,
replied Rainbow Dash.
That would just be crazy,
shouted Applejack.
No, it would be so awesome. Oh, and 20% cooler than what it already is,
said Rainbow Dash. Such an idea was seen by the rest of us as quite imaginative, but that moment, a sinister laughing sound came out of nowhere and left us all surprised.
What was that?
Asked Applejack.
I don't know, but is this some kind of joke in an attempt to psyche me out?
Asked Rainbow Dash.
Now, why would we play a joke is beyond me,
replied Rarity. The laughing s happened again with a third one occurring a few moments later, and then just as we thought things could not get any worse than they already were, things got worse when a pair of eyes appeared on the screen.
Ha, 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 ha. I can sense that you possess magic, a strong magic which has reached my immediate attention. We have no idea what you're talking about,
said Rainbow Dash.
Do not assume me to be naive child when it comes to dealings with magic.
A strong magic recently emerged in this world of yours, and this magic has detected in various other worlds, which is why I am here before you tonight. Think of it as a sort of magical connection between two worlds that continues to ebb forth despite the fact that the magic has weakened much since it was used. There is no need to try and hide something that is so obvious, and doing so in my presence will only cause you grief later on.
It seems to me that one of you possesses a magic that is different from the rest of you, and this one appears to be struggling with an inner turmoil that continues to leech onto her.
My heart immediately sank because this voice was referring to me without a doubt. Since I was from Equestria originally, my magic is different from that of my friends, but then how did this person know about that?
Such a tormented soul like yours is one that is easy to manipulate to my will, and to make you suffer even more is something too tantalizing to pass up on. What makes you think that you can just show up in a ghostly manner, and threaten Sunset Shimmer?
Asked Rainbow Dash.
Ah! You are the one who is obsessed with the world in which I come from. I can see it in your eyes that you wish that my world was more than a mere game. Yeah, that actually would be pretty awesome. Wait a minute. How did you know that I was thinking that? Just who are you?
Asked Rainbow Dash.
I am Ganondorf. This can't be real,
said Applejack.
Oh, it is real, child, and your magic is what has made all of this possible. Whether you choose to believe any of this is real or not is of no consequence to me. Since you think it would be awesome to experience my world for your very own, and that I wish to see the tormented one suffer, I propose that I allow you to experience my world firsthand.
It was at that moment where Applejack first attempted to change the channel on the television thinking that this was some hoax, but her efforts proved futile as every channel featured the same pair of eyes. She then attempted to turn the game off only to suddenly find herself frozen on the spot.
You cannot escape my power, for what I possess is far beyond that which you consider magic. No, you are all mine to do with as I see fit, and that is to see you become a part of my world. Only when the tormented one has succeeded in what is to come will you resume your pathetic lives. Now, behold the strength of the Triforce of Power.
What happened next felt like a blur, seeing as it came so fast, but the television screen changed to that of an image of 3 gold triangles, with the one on top glowing in an eerie light. It was this glow that caused my friends and I to black out, with only the sound of laughter echoing through our ears. A short time later, I awoke to find myself standing in front of large castle during the night, and it was raining. I thought at first that this was a dream, but it was the harsh reality that things weren't what they were meant to be. In this dream, the castle's drawbridge came down, and a horse galloped out from within in what was a hurried motion. When I saw who was riding on the horse, it shocked me to the very core.
What they? Twilight?
This was all I could muster as I saw Twilight on the horse, dressed in an attire which I had never seen before. That wasn't my concern, but rather what was she doing here when she was supposed to be back in Equestria. Then I noticed that Applejack was riding on the same horse, wearing something that she too was wearing, something that I had not seen before. I had no time to wonder what was going on as the two galloped past me and rode off into the night, but not before Twilight stared at me and threw something which I couldn't see due to how dark it was. It felt like she was trying to say something to me, but my mind just couldn't draw a blank. It also didn't help that the sound of another horse behind me got my attention, so I whipped around and came face to face with what looked like a horse one would see in their nightmares, and riding on the horse was a man who had a menacing presence about him. I tried to say something in response, but all I could do was just stare in utter shock, and hopefully some kind of scream would come out before I blanked out again.
Link. Hey Link. Wake up. Hey, come on. Does Hyrule's fate hanging in the balance have to depend on such a lazy girl? Then again, your mumbling tells me that you were having a nightmare, so wake up right now and get out of bed. Why? Sorry if I startled you, Link, but we need to get a move on and go and see the great Deku tree, for he has summoned you. Link? Who in the world is Link?
I asked as I finally started to come around after being rudely awakened.
Are you trying to be funny at a time like this? Who said anything about me being funny? I've no idea who this Link is, and I have no idea who you are.
I replied as I sat upright, which gave me a shock. Why was I in bed all of a sudden when I had been sitting down when that weird stuff happened? As I began to ponder over what had happened, something green fell from my head and took me by surprise.
Okay, what in Equestria is this thing on my head?
It turned out that it was a green hat, and I knew that I wasn't wearing one before. I also knew that I wasn't wearing a green tunic before when I glanced down at myself out of curiosity, and wearing a pair of brown boots topped it all off.
You need to snap out it and follow me at once to the great Deku tree. By the way, my name is Navi, and I am to be your fairy partner from now on. You must feel relieved knowing that you have a fairy of your own and no longer have to be seen as the one Kokiri in the entire village who lacked a partner. Great Deku tree? Kokiri? Navi?
None of those names made any sense to me. I turned to face this Navi in the hopes of maybe getting some answers, but I was not ready for what I was about to see.
Hey! Spike! What are you doing here?
Spike was floating right before me, but he was much smaller than he used to be. Also, where did he get those unusual wings from?
Spike? Who is that?
Asked Spike.
That would be you,
I answered.
You must have had a really bad nightmare if you're calling me by another name. I said that my name is Navi, and that I am to be your fairy partner from now on, Link, but right now you are testing my patience with all of this nonsense you're spouting. But, the great Deku Tree told me to become your partner, and he knows what is best for the entire forest,"
said Spike.
"You called me that name again,"
I said.
"Link?"
asked Spike.
"Yes, that one,"
I answered.
"Because that is your name,"
said Spike.
"Actually, my name is Sunset Shimmer, and I am not meant to be in this world, and that goes for you as well. Your name is Spike, and you are the assistant to Princess Twilight Sparkle, one of 4 alicorns of Equestria, where I originally was from before I chose to live in the human world for my own reasons. I don't what is going on, as my head has been hazy ever since I blacked out back at Pinkie Pie's slumber party."
The lack of a response from Spike made me feel like I had embarrassed myself, which is something that has happened a lot. Why is it that he doesn't recognize me? Why is he calling himself Navi? Why is he small? Could it be true? Could I no longer be in the human world? All of these different questions were racing through my head, and not a single answer could be found for each of them.
"Your name is Sunset Shimmer? That name makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. I'm not in the mood to argue with you over names right now, Link, as we need to see the great Deku Tree, so please come with me,"
said Spike. This would have been the right time to refuse his request, but I wasn't in any real position to do until I figured out exactly what was going on. Spike beckoned me to follow him outside, so I did, and found myself looking straight out at a fantastic sight. Before me stood a small village deep within a forest where all of the houses were large tree stumps, and there was a small body of water which must serve as some kind of lake.
"No matter how many times I see this, it never changes nor does it get old, Link. The forest is so full of life that why would you want to wish for anything else?" "Call me Sunset Shimmer,"
I said.
"Again with that name? Well, I suppose that I could call you that if you really want me to, seeing as I am your partner and all, but I'm not sure if the rest of the Kokiri will accept such a name since they've known you as Link for years. For example, your childhood friend who is coming up to your house would be confused as to why you want to call yourself a name that has to do with the sun,"
said Spike.
"Yahoo! Hi, Link. Fluttershy. I'm sorry, but I couldn't quite catch what you just said. Could you please come down and say that again?" "Fluttershy? Is that you?"
I asked as I climbed down a nearby ladder to the ground.
"That is a very funny name you're calling me by, Link, but it's one that I am not very familiar with."
The girl standing before me was Fluttershy, but now she was wearing a similar attire to what was on me. Not only that, but she seemed much more energetic than usual, which made me wonder if she was even aware of the current situation.
"Oh. A fairy partner has finally made its way to you, Link. That means that you are now a true Kokiri, so the others will be more inclined to accept you instead of shun you like they've always done in the past." "I've been shunned?"
I asked sadly.
"I'm afraid so, Link, I'm sad to say. It's all because of that Minamito and her usual means with which to make things difficult for you." Why did you ask me about being shunned when you already knew that answer?"
asked Fluttershy. Was all I could say.
"You needn't answer my question, Link, as I know how difficult it is for you for answer questions of that nature. I just wish that Mito would stop being a bully to you and accept you as one of us. Just because she sees herself as the boss of the Kokiri doesn't give her the right to behave in such a manner. Besides, you have a fairy now, which means that you won't be teased about not having one anymore. Now to change subject, as I don't want to see you look so sad," said Fluttershy, but I feared that she was too late to prevent that. I had already felt shunned in CHS because of wanting to change my ways, and not being accepted by my peers, but now it seems that this has carried over into this world. No. I'm better now than what I used to be, and my friends can vouch for me on that. Just as I was getting my head straight, Fluttershy noticed that Spike was in quite a hurry and asked what was wrong. "We need to go to the Great Deku Tree," said Spike. "Wow! The Great Deku Tree has summoned you, Link. It is a great honor to be summoned by the Great Deku Tree, and I wouldn't be surprised if you were to receive a special gift from him. You shouldn't dawdle around here as you need to go and see him as soon as possible. I will wait here for you to return, so please get going right away, and if for some reason you get lost, allow your fairy to lead the way. You seem to be in a confused state right now, which is why I felt that I should tell you that," said Fluttershy. "Thanks, Fluttershy," I said.
"You do know that my name is Zira, right, and not Fluttershy?" asked Fluttershy.
"Oh, right.
I mean, Zira," I said sheepishly as I turned and walked away as quickly as I could before things got even more awkward than they already were. She was right about the fact that I had no idea where I was going, so I had to ask Spike to show me the way, in which he felt surprised that I didn't know how to reach this Great Deku Tree. He said all Kokiri know the way to the Great Deku Tree by heart, and that my lack of not knowing this was shocking. Within a matter of minutes, I had found myself standing in front of the boss, and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was Diamond Tyra, another student from CHS, but what was she doing here?
"Hey! Mrs. No Fairy,"
began Diamond Tyra.
"Excuse me?"
I asked.
"You don't a fairy partner of your very own, unlike the rest of us Kokiri? Without a fairy partner, you aren't even a real member of our tribe. Ha ha! What's that floating about behind you there? Is that a fairy? Humph! So you finally got a fairy after all. I guess that means I can't tease you for not having one anymore. Judging from the fact that your fairy is trying his best to pull you along, and beyond this point, he wants to take you to the Great Deku Tree. You? No way in a million years would the Great Deku Tree want to see the likes of you. If anything, he would want to see me, the Great Mito, who is a much better candidate,"
replied Diamond Tyra.
"Actually,"
I began.
"You mean to tell me that the Great Deku Tree actually summoned you to come before him? Are you seriously kidding me here? Why would he want to summon you and not me? If you somehow expect to help the Great Deku Tree as you currently are, then I doubt that you will be of much help without both a sword and shield ready,"
said Diamond Tyra.
"I have no idea how to use a sword," I said. "Really? And you expect to be able to prove yourself to the Great Deku Tree without one? This is just too easy for me. You're making it so easy to torment you that I'm actually getting bored of it. You know what? I'm in a good mood right now, so I think I will allow you to go on through without a sword and shield. Don't think of it as me showing you any kind of sympathy, because that would be the biggest lie that I could muster up. No, think of it as me wanting to see you humiliate yourself even more than usual, and that alone will certainly make my day,"
said Diamond Tyra.
"But I do know magic which could be helpful," I said. "Magic, hey?"
"The only magic that I can see someone like you perform is probably a simple card trick, and even then that wouldn't be much. Besides, Magic is almost a non-existent factor here in the Kokiri forest, apart from that ancient magical location deep within the Lost Woods. Why you would think that you were capable of performing magic is beyond me, but I suppose a wimp like you has to come up with something in order to not look like a complete fool.
Now go on and see the great Deku tree, as I'm sure that you have kept him waiting long enough as it is. The sooner you come back here after failing to live up to whatever expectation he wishes to see from you, the sooner me and the rest of us can mock you in brand new and exciting ways.
Laughed Diamond Tiara as she walked a few steps to my right before turning around and giving me a smirk. That conversation was very uncomfortable because again it had reminded me of what I had been through in the last several months. The more I thought about this world, the more it reminded me of the one in which I now called home. I would soon find myself staring up at a giant tree that had a facial expression across the trunk.
"Welcome, Link."
"Hello," I said.
"There is no need for thou to be afraid, Link, for thou know that you are here because I have summoned you. Dost thou sense it? The evil that pervades the land? Malevolent forces even now prepare their assault in the hopes of reducing our fair world into nothing more than a realm filled with evil. For so long, the Kokiri forest has stood as a final barrier to prevent such evil from entering our world, but such an evil force has proven itself to be too strong. Thy slumber these past moons must have been full of nightmares, for it seems that you are particularly vulnerable to the dark power that seeps across this world. Link, the time has come for you to test thy courage by undertaking a task which I shall set upon thee," said the Deku tree. "You want me to do what?"
I asked.
"I want you to test thy courage,"
replied the Deku tree.
"I don't think you want to do that,"
I said.
"And why do you think this?"
asked the Deku tree.
"I have nothing against courage, as I have earned that through a number of trials back in school where I had to accept my actions, but given that a girl who called herself Mito said that I needed to have a sword and shield in order to help you out, I have no doubt in my mind that I can't help you. Honestly, it pains me to say it like this because I believe in helping people out, but to do so in a way that involves using things that I've never even heard of before is going a little far," I answered. "It would seem that thou art more affected by the evil of this world than I had assumed.
If thou desires to complete thy task without the aid of weapons, then I shall allow you to do so. I must warn you though that the task in question shall be more difficult because thou will not have the means with which to defend thyself. Or, perhaps you do have such a means? I can sense that you possess a strong power within you that has great potential, yet it should prove to be enough for you fulfill my request."
"I have been plagued by a terrible curse, and the source of this curse is a parasite which even now resides deep beneath my roots. Link, use thy courage and inner strength to rid of this curse,"
said the Deku tree. Now that I think back on it for just a moment, I should have simply refused the great Deku tree's request even if it meant betraying my heart. What he wanted me to do was something that was far beyond anything I have done, be it in the human world or in Equestria, but I had to help him because that is what a good friend would do. It was only one parasite after all that was plaguing him, and surely my magic would be more than enough to handle it, right? Boy, would I turn out to be wrong on all of those accounts simply because I had no idea just how this world was supposed to work. Maybe I should have paid more attention to what Rainbow Dash was doing when she was playing that video game earlier. At least then I would have had some idea as to what I was supposed to do instead of running around blind with no clear direction. The only bit of advice that was given to me was to listen to the advice of my fairy partner, and in turn my partner would help me overcome the trials that I was to face. The great Deku tree, upon hearing that I would accept his task, opened an entrance by forcing what appeared to be his mouth open, which did make me feel weirded out at first, but I quickly shrugged it off and proceeded to enter. I was actually surprised that the inside of the tree was hollow, and filled with a number of platforms that go upwards towards the top. I've seen strange things while I was in Equestria, but this was taking it to a new level.
So where exactly do we go from here, Spike?
I asked him.
As I keep on telling you, my name is Navi, but I suppose at this point in time I should just simply humor you and allow you to call me Spike if that will make you feel any better.
To be honest, I'm actually starting to like the name a little bit more, but not by much. As for your name of Sunset Shimmer, while I won't understand the reasons as to why you insist on being called that instead of your actual name Link, I can respect your wishes to be referred to as such. So I will refer to you as Sunset Shimmer from now on, even if it does still sound strange to me.
Anyway, to answer your question, can you see that spider web covering that opening in the floor over there? If only there was a way for you to break the webbing, then we can reach the lower levels where that parasite is located,
replied Spike.
The only way to do that would be to make our way up to the top,
I said.
That would be the best way to handle it, Sunset Shimmer, and you can use those vines on that wall over there as a means of climbing up. Don't be afraid to ask me any further questions, as that is what a fairy like me is meant to do,
said Spike. The vines in question looked simple enough to climb, and I felt that they would be sturdy enough, but if only I had paid a bit more attention to what was happening around my feet instead. There were several plants on the ground which looked harmless enough to me, but they soon began to act of their own free will, and one of them, which was really close to me, started to raise its head, which consisted of a large mouth that looked as though it had not eaten in quite some time. As I stared at the vine-covered wall, the plant reared its head and opened its mouth mere inches away from my own head. To be continued. Chapter 1, Leaving the Sacred Forest to Explore the World.